Hey everyone, my name is Ha, and today we're going to talk about Tides of Crimson, a full conversion fantasy mod for Civilization 3. In this video, we'll go over the 30 new exciting features that are specific to this mod that you will not find in the vanilla version of the game. Alright, let's get started. Number 1. All races in Tides of Crimson are asymmetric, meaning that they each have entirely separate unit lines and every race requires a different set of strategies in order to be successful. All races also have major unique abilities. For example, the lizardmen can teleport. The Amazonians are the only ones that can spot special jungle resources. And the undead can raise armies of ghouls and skeleton warriors from the corpses of slain enemies, just to name a few. The unique abilities of each race are listed in their Civilopedia entries, along with an overview of their overall strengths and possible weaknesses. Also displayed are race-specific texts, buildings, and units. Number 2. Tides of Crimson introduces magic spells. Spells in this mod are one-time use and can spawn from unique wonders specific to your race, great wonders, or spell towers. In general, spells do not count against your unit cap and do not cost gold maintenance, so there's no need to worry about keeping them too long. You have the option to use a spell as soon as you get one, or you can save it all up for an upcoming war to unleash on your enemies. The only exception is the winter-based race called the Frostlings, who can actually build spells in their cities, but Frostling spells do actually cost gold maintenance to keep around. Almost all spells can be teleported from city to city, depending on where you need them. Number 3. Tides of Crimson introduces an elemental system. This works as a focus attack against your enemies and is synonymous with stealth attacks from Vanilla Civ 3. So for example, here we have a couple of fire elementals. Our enemy has a few Frostling units that we would like to kill, but they are being protected by a much more powerful Abaddon unit that will defend the stack first if attacked. Luckily, since fire units have the ability to focus attack ice-based units, we can target the ice units underneath this stack without having to deal with the Abaddon, like so. If you right-click on a unit, you can see which element they are right here. If you click on this link for your element, you can also see a description of which elements are strong against which other elements. Number 4. Governments in this mod have been replaced by spheres. These spheres are elemental in nature and are more impactful than governments from Vanilla Civ 3. Different spheres will not only affect such things as unit support and hurry method, but now also differ in worker speed, unique buildings, units, and spells. For example, here you see the water sphere gives you a 50% worker speed boost, water elementals, a water node to increase naval movement, and access to the water spell. Number 5. Each race has specific technologies that only they can research. These unique techs are optional, but can greatly enhance a race's strengths in various ways. These techs can span one or several different eras. They are shown in the bottom left of the tech tree, and clicking on a unique tech will automatically show you the prerequisite techs required to begin researching. Examples of unique techs are the Mountain Dwarven ability to research better weapons and armor to enhance their many infantry units, or the Troll's ability to give their berserkers the ability to become enraged, thus greatly increasing their attack and defense capabilities, but sacrificing hit points in the process. Number 6. Each race also has special buildings that only they can build. Most of these buildings come in the form of small wonders, but there are also regular buildings that can be built in all cities. Just to show some examples, the Burning Legion can build demon portals that can allow them to materialize at other portals or demonic waygates. And the Athropa Swarm can construct a spawning nest that will create larvae that can eventually mature into much more powerful insectoid creatures. Number 7. Resources can also be race-specific. As mentioned earlier, only the Amazonians can spot Calethea, which is a special jungle resource, but other races also have similar benefits. The Osiri, for instance, are the only race that can see and utilize their magical pyramids. Number 8. The interface in Tides of Crimson also has some noticeable upgrades. Almost every aspect of the menus has been changed. The city screen, advisor screens, and other menus have been overhauled. The Civilopedia has more content and is fully linked for easy navigation. There is also an icon and color coding system. This allows you to more easily identify unit abilities on the city build list. For instance, here we have the city build list for the Athropa Swarm, which shows domestic units such as settlers and workers with green circles and triangles respectively, invisible units with a small black dot, and unit elemental abilities in the top right corner, such as the fact that this Androctonus has the poison element. On the tech tree, units are shown with a white background, buildings have a green background, small wonders have a red background, great wonders have a blue background, and so on. When multiple units of the same type are on the same tile, this is now represented by a single number, instead of multiple listings of the same unit over and over like in the original Civ 3. Number 9. Many other interface upgrades were made possible by Flintlock, who has helped us with a mod that greatly enhances usability. Flintlock's executable mod is included with your Tides of Crimson download file. One of its many nice features is diplomacy scrolling. You now have the ability to scroll from contact to contact straight from the diplomacy screen. On this screen, there is now also an auto-calculate feature that lets you save gold in negotiations. Number 10. Tiles that have already been forest chopped will now display with a chopped message when you right-click on the tile. You no longer have to play the guessing game, trying to figure out which tiles were chopped and which are still available. Number 11. Many commands now can be done as a stack. Hitting these stack buttons, for example, stack bombard here, will allow all active units in that tile to partake in the same action, saving you time. By holding down the control key, you will see that there are also stack commands for such things as worker actions and unit fortification. Number 12. Flintlock has also helped us with some major AI improvements. Your AI opponents will now use bombardment with Savage Abandon. Ranged and siege units will be set up at the doorstep to your cities to wreak havoc, and spells will even be cast on you as you enter enemy AI territory. Number 13. The AI now also uses armies properly. In Tides of Crimson, only the rat-like race known as the Skaven can utilize armies, but the AI uses them in a manner that makes more sense than in vanilla Civ 3. Armies are loaded properly and will go on the offensive when needed. Number 14. In the vanilla game, there is a bug where AI units will accidentally enter a tile already occupied by an invisible unit, such as a submarine, thus starting an unintended war. This is known as the submarine bug and has been fixed in this mod. No longer will the AI start accidental wars when entering tiles occupied by invisible units. 15. Coastal fortresses in the unmodded game would almost never fire on enemy ships that were moving from one tile adjacent to the city to another tile adjacent to the city. This is no longer a concern, as this bug has been fixed in this mod, and ships moving across the shoreline near a city with a coastal fortress will be correctly fired upon. Notice how our once full health galley loses a hit point as it moves along the shoreline. This is due to the coastal fortress within this enemy city firing upon it. 16. There are also many new features for units in Tides of Crimson. The first one we'll mention is that there is now a possibility to build cities in the water when using the Naga. Here, we see a Naga Sea Star building a city deep in the ocean. 17. Military great leaders have been replaced by great dragons. Each time an elite military unit wins a battle, there's a small chance that a green fledge will appear. This fledge can then be upgraded to a different colored dragon, such as a ruby or sapphire dragon. The type of great dragon available to you is dependent on the race you choose. Great dragons technically start off as just fledges, but can eventually mature into drakes and eventually adult dragons that are much stronger. Great dragons might also appear if you are the first civilization in the world to discover a technology. Unlike leaders in vanilla Civ 3, there is no limit on how many great dragons you can have at any one time. Number 18. Tides of Crimson has a greater focus on invisible units. Not only are there many invisible units in this mod, but they also play a more vital role in your military strategy. Sneaking up on unsuspecting forces can allow you to take down larger enemies. Detection of invisible units is thus also key, as detector units are important in allowing you to spot enemy cloaked units before they can cause irreparable damage. 19. New unit abilities and classes now create additional strategic options. For instance, it is now more crucial to have a balanced army. Melee units are great for many general purposes, but need support from range units that can reduce enemy hit points from afar or snipe down weakened foes that are trying to make their escape. Archery units are great for when defending cities and firing into enemies in open areas, but you'll also need support from siege units to really deal damage when attacking a city. There are also a myriad of special unit abilities you'll have to account for. For example, here we're using the High Elves, and we've trained several Melkim units since they have the ability to summon pixies. We can then use these pixies to build Guardian Stones that will give nearby units an area of effect combat bonus. Number 20. Several units in this mod have alternate forms. This is essentially the ability to change a unit to a different state based on your situation. For instance, Osiri worker units can run to their cities and don armaments to become militia when under attack, and then switch back to being full-fledged workers when the threat is neutralized. 21. Tides of Crimson introduces domestic products, more specifically, domestic animals and crops. These are created mostly from special small wonders, but some special units also have the ability to summon domestic products after a victorious battle. Domestic products are used specifically to increase population in cities, and you can do that by moving a domestic animal or crop into a city and hitting the Join City button. In general, crops are created more often, but do not give as big of a city boost, and animals are more rare, but give larger boosts in population. 22. Captured units no longer turn into workers. Instead, capturing units rewards you with the much more versatile work mules. Work mules can be used to make terrain improvements, they can be upgraded to your race-specific worker unit, they can be fed to a city to increase its population, or they can even be sacrificed for a culture boost. 23. Barbarians from Vanilla Civ 3 have been replaced by Krogs. Krogs play a vital role in Tides of Crimson. Aside from regular barbarian activities such as attacking your units and cities, Krogs are valuable as victims for summoning units. Summoning units are units that have the ability to create another unit when they are victorious in battle. Hence, going Krog hunting with summoning units, especially early in the game, can be a very valuable strategy for growing your army. 24. The Space Race victory condition from the original game has been replaced by the Ultima spell victory. You will need to gather a number of magical artifacts in order to cast the Ultima spell, which will wipe out your enemies and win you the game. There is also a new endgame cinematic for you to enjoy. Number 25. Although not an official victory condition, getting Crystal Dragons in the late game can greatly boost your odds of victory. Crystal Dragons are the most powerful unit in the game and are auto-produced at a great wonder known as the Shartoth Spire. In order to build the Shartoth Spire, you have to research the last technology on the tech tree, called Near Immortality, and you also need to have access to a rare resource called Runestone. There are usually only 1 or 2 runestones on an entire map, so the few areas where runestones are located can become very important to control and may lead to some fun conflict if you and several other rivals are all going for the Crystal Dragons. 26. There are also several additional miscellaneous features in Tides of Crimson that are not present in the original game that we wanted to go over. First, the info button in the bottom right corner of your screen is much more useful. Think of this as a quick alternative to the Civlopedia, where you can quickly look up Tides of Crimson specific features and additional tips. 27. This next one is not a major schematic overhaul, but it changes the early game so much that we had to mention it. In the original game, Despotism reduces the maximum amount of food and production you can produce by 1 if you produce more than 2 in a tile, and it can be very confusing and frustrating. This mod has removed the Despotism penalty entirely, so from the very start of the game, every tile produces yields that you would expect, and worker improvements such as irrigation on grassland will provide immediate boost to your city. 28. Civilizations are no longer aligned by culture type, such as American or European. Instead, races are aligned by good and evil or balance and chaos. Some races are also neutral, and it is possible for races to have more than one alignment. For instance, the Moon Elves are aligned to both good and balance. As you may have guessed, these will affect diplomacy. Just as an example, the forces of good will be more friendly towards each other and less friendly towards evil races. Number 29. This mod allows certain small wonders to be built by having access to certain resources. Just to name a few examples, having access to cows will allow you to build a cattle farm, gold will allow you to build a gold mine, and wines will allow you to build a winery. Number 30. And last but not least, Tides of Crimson is a constantly evolving mod, unlike the original game which is now frozen in time. Future plans for this mod include the addition of scenarios and storyline missions, on top of a plethora of other features. Your feedback is perhaps the most valuable thing we can receive. Whether you find a mechanic that you think could use some tweaking, or have ideas on how we can make this mod even more enjoyable, please let us know by leaving comments below or in the forum link. It's with your help that we are able to make Tides of Crimson better. And that wraps up our video. We hope you've enjoyed this run through of new features this fantasy mod has to offer. Please like and subscribe if you found this video helpful or entertaining, or both. It does help us out a lot. If you are a total Civ 3 newbie, please check out our tutorial videos for Civ 3 beginners. Just a note, we will be remaking some of the previous tutorial videos so they're a little bit more streamlined. If you are a more seasoned Civ 3 player and are just looking to know more about the differences between Tides of Crimson and the vanilla game, please look out for our new Let's Play episodes and Hints and Tips episodes that we will be dropping. They might actually already be available depending on when you are watching this. Thanks, and we'll see you next time.